Learn how to buy an entire fourplex building with just a 3.5% down payment next. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold with Get Rich Education. I would know how to buy a fourplex building with a small down payment because it is exactly how I started out. This is how you can start out in real estate investing with a bang and have a residual income stream from a building for the rest of your life if you want it. So all you need to do to qualify for an FHA loan with a 3.5% down payment is to occupy one of the 4 units for at least 12 months and have a credit score of 580. That's it. Those are the main criteria. You don't need a real estate license or any sort of degree or certification in order to qualify for this FHA loan. And 4 units is the most units you can qualify for. So you can use an FHA loan with 3.5% down this way for a single family home, duplex, triplex, or fourplex. The program's been around for a really long time, but a lot of people just don't know about it. Understand that unless it's brand new construction, before you buy this property, each unit will likely already be occupied with tenants, and you'll just have to give notice to one of them that you plan to owner occupy one of those units where you'll stay for at least 12 months. Let's take a look at the exact first fourplex building that I bought myself. This is it. It's not that pretty, but it's secured a durable income stream. It doesn't have to be pretty. This is at 925 East 45th Court in Midtown Anchorage, Alaska. Notice the doors. So this one is townhouse style. Each unit is side by side, and each unit had its own separate entrance to the outdoors. That is preferable to apartment style. So this way, townhouse style, there is no common entrance or common hallways or common stairs. Each unit has more privacy this way. That matters to you because you're going to live there for at least 12 months yourself. And if you can see the third door from the left, it's a little hard to see, but there's an American flag that someone hung above it. That unit, Unit 3, is the exact unit that I lived in, and I stayed there for a little over 3 years until I moved out. Again, you only need to stay there for 1. Let's talk about choosing the right fourplex. There are a few measures of that. One is you want to get a high ratio, if you can, of rent income in proportion to a low purchase price. If you can get close to a 1% rent to value ratio, you're doing really well. All right, so what does that mean? Let's say that the market rent for the entire building is $4,000 a month and you have $1,000 from each of 4 tenants, but you're not going to have $4,000 while you're living in one of the units. You'll only have 3. We'll put you in Unit 3 since I lived in Unit 3 when I bought my first ever property. But this would have a market rent of $4,000 a month. Well, if you can buy a building for $400,000 total purchase price, hey, well, that is a 1% rent to price ratio. Maybe you alternatively call that a rent to value ratio. That's really good. That is a bunch of numbers. It's probably going to lead to long-term cash flow. If you get 0.9%, meaning the rents would be $900 and this number would be $3,600, that probably works pretty well too. One thing that a lot of people overlook is you also want to buy a fourplex in a market where you have a reasonable expectation that there's going to be some population growth and some job growth over time. Because on the day you buy this, you are going to inherit the tenants that are already there. That's something that you need to understand. But understand that, say, this tenant that lives next to you, after 18 months, they very well may move out. You need to buy a property in a job growth market because you want to have a reasonable expectation that after 18 months, a new tenant could probably come in and occupy that and have a job that could pay the rent. So that's a macroeconomic thing there, looking in that metro's economy. Understand one downside, you are the landlord. Tenants are going to have things that break sometimes. Do you know how to fix a garbage disposal? Learn how. It's amazing what you can do with YouTube videos in finding out how to fix something. If not, you can use a handyman. Sometimes you even get a tenant that's handy and you can pay them to take care of it for you, but you are a landlord. And understand that you do have a number of expenses. After your rent income, you need to deduct out your mortgage principal and interest, a factor for vacancy, you're going to have property insurance, you're going to have some maintenance costs, property taxes, and then a cost for utilities as well. If you get one of those townhouse style units rather than an apartment style fourplex, it's pretty likely that you're going to have more and more individual utility meters for each tenant if you get townhouse style. That's generally a preferable thing to do in order to keep your utility costs down. What you're really doing here when you own a fourplex building is you're going beyond what most everyday investors do. What do most everyday investors think? Let me get my money to work for me. No, don't make getting your money to work for you the focus. That's the next level. Get other people's money to work for you at scale. That's what you're doing with a fourplex building. You're using the tenant's money for the income stream, which also helps pay down your loan. You're using the bank's money to get a loan for this property, and you're using the government's money. You're going to get very generous tax incentives at scale with an entire fourplex building. Use other people's money ethically 3 ways at the same time, not only your own. That's how you're really getting ahead. And here's the interesting thing. If you think getting a loan for most of this purchase price amount seems daunting, or maybe you think you don't have enough income to qualify for the building in the first place, you can use other people's money, your tenant's money, before you even own the building. And here's how. When you go to qualify with your mortgage loan officer, typically with an FHA loan, you can use 75% of the existing tenant's income, 75% of the $3,000 that they know you're going to get in month 1 and every month thereafter. So 75% of the $3,000 of the tenants that are paying rent that already live in there, that's $2,250, $2,250 per month is what you can use, as your qualification criteria before you even own the building. That's really remarkable. Use other people's money, and then understand after your owner occupancy period of a year or more with you living there, as soon as you move out, now you're going to have 4 rent incomes rather than just 3 while you live there. And here's what you can do. Now that you've got 4 rent incomes after your owner occupancy period, you can now qualify to own a better single-family home and live a better quality of life, therefore, than you ever could have if you had just made your first ever home a single-family home. So if you go through a fourplex instead, you have all these advantages and you have 4 income streams in perpetuity. So this is really for someone, especially that's scrappy, that would still live in a fourplex, and that's maybe younger or just starting out. Every fourplex doesn't diminish your quality of life that much. Some fourplexes are brand new construction and even have carports or garages. So look around for a fourplex. What you can do in the meantime is build your credit, maybe even something as simple as, making sure you pay your Verizon phone bill every month. Build up that credit so that you can get an owner-occupied fourplex with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, a 12-month owner occupancy period, and a credit score of at least 580. That's all you need. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to buy a fourplex if you don't plan to live in one of the units at all. There's a way to do that too. In the meantime, listen to me on the Get Rich Education podcast. There's been a new show every Monday for years. I talk about wealth mindset, real estate investing, and real estate economics every week on the Get Rich Education podcast. That's how you buy a fourplex with very little money down. It's a great way for you to start with a bang. I'm Keith Weinhold. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Since 2014, the powerful Get Rich Education podcast has created more passive income for people than nearly any other show in the world. This show teaches you how to earn strong returns from passive real estate investing in the best markets without losing your time being a flipper or landlord. Show host Keith Weinhold writes for Forbes and delivers a new show every week. Since 2014, there's been millions of listener downloads in 188 world nations. He has A-list show guests include top-selling personal finance author Robert Kiyosaki. Get Rich Education can be heard on every podcast platform, plus it has its own dedicated Apple and Android listener phone apps. Build wealth on the go with the Get Rich Education podcast. Sign up now for the Get Rich Education podcast or visit GetRichEducation.com.